Hello everyone, I'm Shruti Agrawal. 2 years back, I had done a 3-episode women series where I brought to you 3 stories of women that I have been associated with for some time. I got a very good feedback. There were so many other women who were inspired. They came back to me and said that they didn't know that there are so many other stories in real life, and they felt that they could do a lot more than they believed that they could do. So this year again I thought that let's redo the series with a few more women. And this is the start of one of those episodes. Today I have with me Hiloni Gala, a solo entrepreneur, founder of Brand Label, a content and branding agency. She has been a friend for a few years now, and she's mother to 2 beautiful girls. Thank you, Hiloni, for being a part of this and taking time out and being with us here today. So, Hiloni, tell us a little bit about yourself, your childhood, when you were growing up, because we are like a personal finance company, and that's what I'm known for. Tell me a little about what personal finance memories do you have from your childhood, some reflections that you have from the time that you grew up with your parents.
Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you so much, Shruti, for inviting me for this. To introduce myself, I'm Hiloni Gala. You've done a beautiful job of introducing me, so thank you so much for that. So to talk about my family, I am the eldest of 3 daughters. So the typical elder daughter syndrome or version or whatever you call it. We are Kachi Gujaratis, so a typical business family setup is what I grew up in. Even when I was growing up back then, we were a nuclear family, which was very different from how families operated back then. Right now, nuclear is the norm. Back then, joint was the norm, at least in the Kachi Gujarati setup. But since the time I was 5, we've lived as a nuclear family. And I think that family setup has really influenced not just my way of thinking about a lot of things. Money and finances, of course, being one of them. I have always seen my parents drive every decision together. There was never an interference or never an influence per se of the head of the family or an elder kaka or a grandparent or anything like that. It was always my parents, and the beauty was that even 25-30 years ago, it was both my parents equally driving a lot of decisions. So there was a symphony that they had established, a rhythm that they had established between them, which is what I got to view. So tab to bahut clear roles the. Dad was the bread earner, mama used to look after the house, look after the girls, but never once did I get the feeling that dad is superior than my mother, or those typical she's the home minister, I'm the finance minister. Those were really not the conversations in my house. Even though we are 3 daughters, that I never felt that I am not part of any conversation. Like, to give you a few examples, there was a time when we were redoing a part of the house. And it's a big decision, right, that the parents are taking to whatever is redo karna hai, room ko, we want to make it more comfortable for the daughters. But all 3 of us were a part of that conversation from time zero. Like, the thought of doing it, should we do it now? How should we do it? Our feedback was always incorporated. So I always felt very involved. And of course, the final decision in terms of money was the parents, but I was always a part of that conversation. And even my mother used to really, my mother was the one who basically spoke about money very openly. So there was a very open conversation of, yes, this is affordable. Yes, we can do this. If we can't do something, then what is the logic behind it? Or, we used to always travel by car back then also. And my mother back then, she would say things like, you go from here to here for such a silly task using a car, petrol ही 300 रुपए का हो जाता है. And that time, you're young, you're naive, and you're like, अरे ये क्यों, मतलब, why is she thinking about petrol and 300 rupees and what is 300 rupees? But that, I think now, because, I'm an adult and I'm able to relate, and I'm like, that is where that talk of money and finance, even in that small level, came to me. that everything is accountable for. You are thinking through every decision, no matter how big or small. And even to passively hear those conversations is where I feel my most initial understanding of how finance and money works at the ground level is what came to me.
So, Hiloni, like now that you're saying this, I am also realizing that, like so far, I used to believe that we've not had too many money conversations across the table as a family, right? And like most Indian families. But now that you're saying, I can also relate to it in the sense that my parents also used to have a lot of these money conversations and money decisions together. Things like, car kharidni hai, kaun si kharidni hai, or even, things like you said, renovation, or, even little things about, gifting. For example, Diwali pe, we have to give people.
Yes.
So, what kind of budgets. And all of those decisions used to happen together. And I think it's a great point that you made, that I think one of our earliest observations and I think, internalization of the concept of money comes from there.
Correct.
And it's not that only we as a generation are doing it with our children now. I think we have also gotten exposure.
Yes.
It's just that we haven't really thought about it and started applying it in our lives. So I think that's a great reflection to have, that even our mothers in that generation, irrespective of what role were they playing in the family, they were also, at least some of them were taking a very active role in some of these decisions that we used to take as a family.
Yes, definitely. So just to add to that, my mother, she has this knack of, so she used to run the house, right? So your typical family house budgeting. So one thing that I used to be very awe of, I still am, is that she remembers the cost of even a 500 gram chole. And she will buy something like 3 months ago, and then she'll buy it again, and she'll know, okay, oh, I paid like X rupees then, and why am I paying X rupees now? Or, so these are really small
And cut to
things.
now, we don't know any of this.
Yeah,
right?
because
So
of
if somebody
digital
asks me
payments,
today, what
yeah.
is 1 kg aloo costing, I have no idea.
The digital payments have ruined that for us. But I feel that is again, a very early memory of finance and money management. That you have to know your bottom line. If I were to put it in like MBA terms, you have to know even your basic cost of like 50 rupees, और वो कहाँ जा रहा है, किधर जा रहा है, क्यों जा रहा है, और वो क्यों बढ़ रहा है, by even 5 rupees to then eventually get to the bigger numbers.
So I think they had a much closer interaction with inflation, if I can, like, you just use my terms, than us, because I now know that, like if I'm ordering, let's say, grocery online, like I just don't care whether it's 1,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees so much. I mean, unless it's drastically different.
Correct.
Like if I'm ordering protein bread, then probably I'll notice that it's 130 rupees. But if I'm ordering,
Bibs or Britannia,
it doesn't matter, it's 55 rupees, 50 rupees, we don't break our head over it. And I think somewhere as a generation, we are probably not understanding inflation as much as our parents did in that sense.
Correct.
So Hiloni, like growing up, you spoke about the exposure that you've had. What kind of educational profile do you have? How did you decide what do you want to study? Was it close to finance, not finance? What made you take those choices?
So my basic schooling was in a convent girls' school. That's where our schooling happened. After that, I had dreams of becoming a doctor. Don't ask me why. It was one of those things where you feel that, oh, there should be a doctor in the family. I'm going to be the first one. You're very young. Elder sister syndrome. You're too young. Back then, But that didn't work out. And then my mother, again, my parents were the one who realized, I've always been good at communication. I used to participate a lot in school plays. I used to write scripts for school annual days and all of that. And they were like, what, why don't you do communication? So from there, with that thought, I ended up doing BMM, which is Bachelor's of Mass Media at Jai Hind College. Then went on to do my MBA in marketing. That time, there was not too much conversation around taking gap years to work. It was not even mandatory by a lot of MBA schools. So it just one education after another, and then fresher, and then I got into a branding organization called Saffron Brand Consultants. They are basically a Madrid-based company who had an office in Bombay, and branding used to always excite me. building a brand, growing a brand, changing brands, people's perception of brands, consumer behavior when it comes to adapting to brands, or even like how do they view it. So that's something that has always intrigued me over and above just normal advertising per se. So yeah, that's how I got into saffron, and then started brand label soon after.
So how long have you been an entrepreneur now?
So its brand label is completing 11 years in April 2025. So yeah, that's
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. So yes, 11 years of being a solo entrepreneur. Brand label, like you said, is a content and branding agency. So yeah.
So Hiloni, one of the things that I have observed talking to a lot of entrepreneurs is that they really struggle, especially when you're a solo entrepreneur. They really struggle to maintain that thin line of difference between personal finance and business finance.
Correct.
Did you face similar challenges?
Okay, so a little bit of a backstory. So when I started 11 years ago, 2014 is when brand label started. Back then there was not so much of chatter around entrepreneurship, around starting a business. Of course, it was there, but I feel that Facebook ही था. Just to give you a little bit of perspective and give the viewers also some perspective of how fast, so much has happened in the last 10-11 years. So there was not so much of chatter around, oh, we are a startup, or oh, I'm starting a business. So the way I viewed it was, and because I come from a business family, married into a business family, for me, starting a business was second nature. It was very natural. कि मतलब it's a banya setup through and through. मतलब business नहीं करेंगे तो क्या करेंगे? So I never in my head was telling myself that, oh, it's a startup. For me, it was like, it's a business. It's what we always do. What I've seen people around me do, what I've seen men around me do. I was the first in the family to have my own business. It is registered in my name. So that was a first for sure. But yeah, the way I looked at it was just कि हाँ business है. In terms of managing personal finance, or what my salary is going to be versus what the business salary is going to be, or whatever, the profits of the business and so on. Again, I viewed it as very, like the lines are very blurred, at least in the initial years for me. I didn't separate the two entities. For me, it was like, जो profit, जितना भी profit business को चाहिए, वो business को दे दो. वो जो बाकी का है, वो मेरा है. Or that I'll take no matter how big or small the number is, but business first. Because that is what I have seen around me grow, around me happen, and that's how I've grown up. So eventually, of course, that basic ideology is still the same, that you give the business whatever the business needs for it to prosper, flourish, sustain, if you have to consider COVID. But that is still the base ideology. Of course, then it has become more fine-tuned, more, yeah. But
so did you start this business before you got married or after?
No, it was soon after. So I got married in 2013 December. I started the business in April 2014.
So in the initial days of the business, normally what happens is there's some amount of capital that you need to keep investing, like keeping a team, and a lot of us have started businesses from the house rather than like taking an office setup and all that. So those expenses may not be there, but like reaching out to people, there are certain costs that you need to put up front, and you think about what you take away from the business much later, right? Like you said, in the initial years, the lines are blurred. Now that you're close to completing 11 years, how have you managed finances for yourself and the business overall? Because you're a solo entrepreneur, how do you really take financial decisions? Maybe you can give some examples of some financial decisions that you have taken. You also mentioned COVID, sustenance during COVID. So were there some cuts that you took during COVID where you had to cut down your take home or whatever? And like how do you navigate that journey?
So, okay, to answer your question, it's in a very clinical pointer factor. When it comes to business, it's always business expenses first. Now that could be anything. It could be the rent, the actuals, your rent, your salaries, your basic light, whatever you need to keep that office up and running. Now that there's always a figure to that. Suppose that figure is a lakh, then you keep उससे 10% extra. कि इतना तो ऊपर नीचे antivirus, there are some random things that happen. Someone's laptop just crashes. So ours is a very, it's not a very material intensive business. You need a good laptop and you're good to go. in terms of the type of industry we function, we operate in. So, all of that is always earmarked. Whatever then remains, again, a good 30% of it is earmarked for any sort of miscellaneous expenses, including business development expenses or sustenance of clients' expenses. We have to travel to meet the client. We have to sometimes give a little more because we have to please the client, or there are things that happen in terms of maintaining client relations or even acquiring new business. And then whatever remains is what I take home. So usually this is a structure that has worked out for me. Also in the take home bit, I know what my expenses are on a monthly basis. There's a figure put to it that mera personal, I will need so much. My lifestyle, I will need so much. For my kids, I will need so much. So that is all accounted for, and there's a number put to it. So I work in a very number fashion, a very, this number, and anything over and above that then is just, like it's like again free for expansion. So right now we shifted offices, so that became a very big change, because that setup we couldn't replicate in the new office. So वो capital expense हो जाता है फिर, so you have to account for that. So now that that's how I look at it now.
So one takeaway from what you were just saying is that you work in a very number fashion. Basically, what we can call it is you have budgets for everything. Like you have those glass bottles for
those
everything, right?
Yes.
This is what I'm going to spend on kids, myself, recreation.
Yes.
Have you faced a situation where all of these numbers were not adding up?
Thankfully, touch wood, no, I have not. The reason being that as an entrepreneur, I'm extremely brutal. So if I have to take certain calls, of course, it's taken me some time to get there. I have dragged my feet on tough decisions because it's not easy, right? It's not easy to say no to a low paying client, because your first thought always is कि ठीक है, जितना भी है पैसा तो आ रहा है. But then you have to say no. Saying letting go of employees who are not adding value versus how much you are paying them, how much and maybe they are also not getting fulfilled in their job. That is why they are also not able to add the kind of value you or the company needs. So the reason I'm able to maintain those budgets or those bottles, glass bottles, like you rightly said, is because I'm very clinical in my approach. So अगर किसको जाना है तो जाना है. If there are, like in COVID, I had no take home because there was no scope only. How do I take something home when my employees are taking a salary cut? When my clients are cutting my budgets, because marketing though is the first budget that was thrown out of the window. I'm like, I just reached a stage where I was grateful that even if at that little value, clients are continuing. So the games were completely changed. The rules were completely changed. So I didn't have a take home for those 2 years, and that was not even my focus. My focus was that I should not go red. Like red में नहीं जाना चाहिए. So that is what I maintain कि ठीक है 2 साल वैसे भी कुछ नहीं होना है. So let's just live with that and kind of ride through that, but let's not go in the red. So that's how I look at it. It's always, maybe it's that the way I've grown up going back to that business setup, that you end up putting yourself last if like the business is first. The business has to grow, business has to sustain. The people who are working for you, you're supposed to be very much grateful for them. So there was not even 1 month where I didn't pay salaries. There was a cut, yes, those cuts were communicated to my team from day one, that this is what it's going to be. There were timelines also given, guys, for 6 months, this is the pay cut that you all will take. If that got extended, that was also very clearly communicated, because everybody also has their own houses to run and their own financial goals to meet. So
So you've reached a stage where you've been able to demarcate your business finances and your personal finances. Now, with your personal finances, and now that you would have also stepped into a stage where you were able to accumulate and
Correct.
And beyond what you need, there is surplus.
Correct.
So are there personal financial goals that you chase? Have you been able to? Why I'm asking this is because when I talk to a lot of women, a lot of them have not really visualized their own future like that.
Correct.
They have their own goals and they're chasing a number.
Correct.
Is there something like that you do?
Yes. So I'll answer this question in 2 parts. So one is that when we were growing up, what I learned from my parents when it comes to financial discipline or financial multiplication is that you should only do as much as your money allows. So, you know, don't go and buy a BMW just because you have 60 lakhs in your bank account. That is not how you need to look at this. So again, this is something that I kind of adapted just by observation. You know, मेरे को किसी ने बोला नहीं था, but it's what I saw कि हाँ हम holiday कर सकते हैं, पर हमारा holiday का budget ये है. We are not going to international holidays every year because वो नहीं है possibility. So I think that is what I have learned in terms of how I look at money. In terms of what my financial goals are, I think what I aim for is financial freedom. But what does financial freedom mean, right? It means to be able to have that money in your wallet to spend for yourself and for your family. Now, it really, again, to this I don't have a number, but it's just that freedom कि आप कहीं जाओ तो it shouldn't be like, you know, you don't have to think twice. So you go only to places that you know कि या यहाँ पे everything is, you know, कभी कुछ extra हो गया, कभी बच्चों ने कुछ मांग लिया, कभी मेरा कुछ मन हो गया. So, you know, you only expose yourself to that much because that is your universe and you're very real about it. So that is what I want to, with all the money that I'm earning or that I will continue to earn. My aim is to just lead a comfortable life in my universe. And I'm very aware, the first step of doing that was realizing what my universe is. Okay, you know, this is our universe. We are not buying holiday homes in Alibag. That is not my universe yet. But this is where I am and this is where I need to focus on and this is what I need to make the most of.
Yeah, so I think rightly pointed out. I mean, you know, like everybody's universe looks different.
Correct.
And there are no right and wrong here. You know, for some people, you know, they derive maximum utility out of buying that holiday home, right? That's what gives them happiness or a sense of purpose in life. For others, it could just be like a comfortable lifestyle. For others, it could be travel every year, and it varies from everybody. And I think from what I could sense from your conversation is that a lot of this has come from what you've seen in your ecosystem growing up.
Yes.
If you have seen your parents, you know, having that conversation कि ये कर सकते हैं, ये नहीं कर सकते हैं, then you also tend to continue the same in your journey, right? Now, within your family, like between you and Umang, your husband, like who is the financial primary decision maker in the house, or how does it work? Like, I understand there was a symphony between you and your parents.
Correct.
How does it work in your ecosystem? Because Umang would have had a different upbringing probably.
Correct.
Right? So how do you like bring it all together?
So, so I think, you know, I'll give you a little bit of an anecdote, and I'll introduce Umang in this particular way. And then from there, I'll tell you how the rhythm works between us. So, Umang and I had gone for this Hamta Pass trek. It's a 7-day grueling Himalayan trek. I don't know why we went, maybe because Umang wanted to go. But yeah, I mean, I went for it. I'm not really that adventurous a person. And there was a group of 5 women from Bangalore, and just women from Bangalore who had come for that trek. And they all were like, you know, business owners in their own respective sense. Like one person had an IT company of 300 employees. Oh. One person was running a Little Italy restaurant in Bangalore. One was an ex-Miss India. Basically a really diverse group, but all working women, entrepreneurial, all having husbands and kids at home. उनको छोड़ के ये 7 days का Himalaya trek के लिए they had come. And what had happened in that trek was that we were having a conversation, and this one lady, you know, she said that you need one champion in your life who is not you. Now that person could be your husband, it could be your sibling, it could be a parent, it could be a best friend, someone who is your person and someone who kind of pushes you to achieve what you are actually capable of. And I think that, you know, that really stayed with me. Like that trek happened in 2016, I think, or 17, and that conversation has really stayed with me because I feel that Umang and my relationship is based on the fact that he is my biggest cheerleader. So that is why, you know, it's very unheard of कि 2013 December को शादी हुई, 2014 में तुमने अपना business शुरू किया. How? You know, the family is new. Husband हमारा तो arranged marriage है, तो ऐसा भी नहीं है कि, you know, सालों से we know, yeah. So I think Umang has been my champion in that sense, where he's just been like, you know what, he's recognized that talent. He's seen कि okay, you're good at this, you know what, let's do this together. So the conversations with Umang are always very collaborative in that sense. There is never a sense of you are going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm informing you and you are informing me. It's not that. Yes, there are people who take leads in certain conversations because those are our respective strengths. Like at currently, if I were to say, a lot of my time goes after my 2 kids because they're very young. They're 5 years, 3 years. They demand that kind of time. I have my own business to run. I have the house and all of that. So all of that takes up a lot of time. So in the current situation, Umang is the one who drives the financial conversation. Like he will be like, you know, Hill, I need to speak to you about this mutual fund, this PMS, this. So, you know, you need to make time for it. So I'm like, okay, fine. So then we sit and have a conversation. But that is how the way we work is that the rhythm is there, but it's about who is driving what at different stages in our life. So at this stage in our life, it is him who drives those conversations, who's like, you know, we need to kind of establish A, B, C, D. This is what we need to do. And yeah, that's how we go about it.
But I think that's a great way, you know. So like I a lot of time, you know, people perceive that what I am telling them to do is that women should like separate out their finances and lead their decisions. But that's not the point. The point is being aware and being involved.
Yes.
And I think that is what is missing in a lot of families. We have also grown up, you know, seeing that bits and parts of that missing, right? So especially, I'll tell you, during COVID, you know, in a lot of amongst my relatives, or even from the various stories where we were hearing, you know, like people were just passing away, there were so many women who were left behind knowing nothing.
Correct.
You know, for example, even my mother, when my father passed away, she wasn't aware how many bank accounts did he have, you know, how are taxes filed. She didn't know any of this, right?
Correct.
And thankfully I was there to manage all of that and step in, and I could do it. But not everybody has that one person who understands all this, right? And I think that is where the fact that you and Umang have that discussion, at least you are aware.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So it's not like कि पैसा कहाँ है पता नहीं है, right? And I think that is what is important.
Correct.
It's okay for men to have that competency, the time and the energy to drive that conversation.
Correct.
As long as you are involved. Correct. And you also have some veto power, maybe.
Yes, I think that's a very good word you've used. It's something that Umang and I use very often with each other, that the veto. So if he is driving the conversation, I still have a veto. So like I'll tell you an anecdote of how this veto works, this veto system. So when we bought the house that we are currently living in, Umang had seen the house, everything. I had not gone to see the house. My I think Mishka was just born, my elder one. Or no, my Zaisha was just born, something like that. So I had not seen the house. I'd seen it on the phone, you know, blueprint.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, theek hai, good, all of that. Then to give the final check, I went with my brother-in-law, and I remember I have not seen the house till then, and I remember Umang telling me on the phone, I was having a conversation just before I went. He's like, Iloni, you have the check. If you feel that something is not right, don't pay. That is veto. You know, it's like at every stage in life, a person is not going to have the bandwidth to get super involved in everything. I think that is why you even have a partner, right? Otherwise, मतलब सब अकेले ही कर लो, क्यों चाहिए husband, क्यों चाहिए partner, क्यों चाहिए? The whole point of being in rhythm or being in sync, or of, you know, having this veto is not that you are 100% involved in everything, but to empower your partner to have that veto कि भाई this is our together decision. अगर नहीं, for whatever reason you feel it's not working, just pull the plug. And I think in financial decisions, that is the power that I feel I'm empowered to, and it's similar for Umang. You know?
Yeah, I think it's a teamwork kind of a situation.
Yes.
There could be a team captain or a team leader,
Yeah,
but I think
yeah.
it works out of discussion. And I think this, you know, this, what do I call it? I would say that this thing comes from both. I mean, in a lot of families, what I see is that the men want to empower their partners. The partners don't want to get involved. Therefore, they
Correct.
still, you know, when the decision point comes, they don't have enough data to really process all of that in their mind and take a decision.
Correct.
Sometimes it's the other way around.
Correct.
The women want to get empowered, but the men feel कि यार कहाँ से scratch से शुरू करना पड़ेगा, तुमको basics नहीं पता है, you don't understand what is a mutual fund, छोड़ो, I'll only do it.
Correct.
Right? So I think both setups I'm aware that they exist, and I think in your setup, why it is working is because both of you fundamentally believe that you are a team. And you have to work as a team.
Fundamentally, and I think individually also, see, थोड़ा effort तो individual को भी लेना है.
Yeah.
You, if you are not aware of mutual funds, then you have to be aware that you are not aware. You have to educate yourself. I think you cannot, it's unfair to put that onus on any other person, whether it's your advisor, your someone who manages your money, or even your spouse, or even your parent. कि you know the education की you know responsibility तो खुद की ही है. You have to educate yourself. Like I am not a very finance person. I'm a very right-brained creative person. But then वो awareness तो होनी चाहिए ना कि हाँ भाई मेरा understanding limited है तो, and now there are so many avenues also where you can actually you know take all that gyan, you know, where you can read books, you can listen to podcasts, you can watch videos, whatever your consumption preference is. There are avenues available across consumption points.
Yeah, although that's a problem. I think there's too much of information overload also. But yeah, I think it's much easier now. I remember when we started this business in 2015, people weren't that aware. I mean, there weren't so many platforms, and that's just 9 years behind, you know. But 9 years, so much has changed.
Correct.
Like even like you said that, let me talk about Facebook. I was thinking about days of Orkut, you know, like we are from those days of Orkut when we had like an Orkut profile and we like shut that down into Facebook. And then we moved on and it feels like it's always been there. But no, it's
not.
It's one of those stories we'll be telling our kids and they'll be laughing about it. Like you know, like you didn't know about these platforms. So, Hiloni, talking about kids, I understand that between you and Umang, you have a very collaborative kind of a setup where you both discuss. Now, you have 2 daughters, Mishka and Zaisha. While I understand they're very young, what are the kind of money values that you want to imbibe in them, you know, as parents?
Correct. So, it's a very good question, very relevant question. Like you said, Mishka, Zaisha, both are still quite young. But I think what I would like to, there are two goals that Umang and I are working with. Glass jars again, demarcation of how we're going to approach this. One is that they need to understand that money is a means to an end. It is not the end. It is not defining you. It is a means to an end. So understand the value of money and the role it plays in your life. The second thing is that I would like them to have a very healthy relationship with money, which is what I feel that I didn't have. I also don't have it 100%. It's something I'm working towards. But, you know, there were phases in my life early on where my relationship with money was not good. Like either I was being too frugal or I was spending too much. And then it was 2 extremes that I was like, you know, moving towards. Abhi bahut kharcha ho gaya, acha theek hai, abhi 3 mahina, you know, no kharcha, no buy January and don't spend February and all those, you know, Instagram terms that are there. And then after this, there would be like this 1 month where बाप रे इतना खर्चा हो गया, पता ही नहीं चला, मतलब not पता नहीं चला, but you're just like, you know, because you're starved.
Yeah.
You know, you're starved of spending money, so you're like, अरे चलो
like
now.
Stress spending.
Yeah, stress spending, and now let me just, you know, जी ले अपनी ज़िंदगी type. So I feel that you know, extremes is something that I have had to deal with. I've had to learn. So that's something that I would like my kids to have a better relationship with money. To not become the slave of money, but at the same time to not feel very scared of it. I feel that our generation somewhere is scared of money because we've seen a very simple, a very different India, a very different way of upbringing, you know. So yeah, these are the 2 things that, you know, eventually I would want Mishka and Zaisha to achieve, or to kind of imbibe as values when it comes to finance, financial discipline, thoughts about spending. Let them think about that. I recently saw this podcast of Kishore Biyani with his 2 daughters, you know, and he said this interesting thing where he said that my daughters never had pocket money, and the reason he gave was that trust begets trust. Matlab, what is that pocket money going to achieve? Let me tell them how much you spend, how much ever you want. Let's see what you make of it. So that shift of responsibility also I feel works well. Make them responsible. Don't curb the kharcha. Don't say ke you can't do this, you can't do that. Empower them to think, you know, do I need this? Do I need to do this? Of course, this is when they become much older. Right now, it would just be simple things like you have 100 rupees. Let's go to the store, niche, dekho kya milta hai. You know, simple things like that where they have access, so that I think that will also teach them to not be fearful.
But I think at 5-year-old they just keep needing everything, like, you know, like every time you go to the store they just keep buying the same things.
Yeah, so to avoid, so that's what Umang and I do. We avoid. I must have been to Hamleys like 3 times in Mishka's 5 years because it's too much of cacophony. दो बच्चों के बाद इतना वैसे भी कैकोफनी होता है, you go to place which has more cacophony.
Yeah.
So it's something that just doesn't work for us. It's not something that we're not even that kind of parents. I mean, we'd rather just do nothing at home together, and I think that is
Right.
works for us.
So, what's some of the best financial advice that you have received, maybe as a daughter or as a wife or an entrepreneur, as a mother?
So there's this book, I'm sure you've read it, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think that is usually everyone's finance 101 in terms of anything to do with finance, money. And I think the most important thing that I feel women of today, given the access that we have, given the fact that a lot of us are able to have careers that we are able to balance with family life, because the men are also stepping up. The fact that we are also speaking up and pushing the boundaries of, मेरे से इतना ही होगा. Now you need to step up, or then this system needs to change. So I think, given all of that, the one thing that I want to impart to my daughters, or the one advice that I have received through observation that I'm trying to implement in my life, is to have a good, positive relationship with finances and money. To not shy away from having the tough conversations, making the tough decisions, choosing to spend, not to spend, but doing it with a clear mindset, dealing spending decisions to see if there is any merit in the spend at all.
Yeah.
So these are I'll say abstract thoughts, but I feel that they are also very value driven thoughts. And that's what I would like, and that's the way in which I would urge a lot of women around me to think of money. Don't think के मुझे म्यूचुअल फंड्स नहीं आता है. Don't think अरे मैं तो सिर्फ घर संभालती हूँ, मैं तो सिर्फ बच्चे संभालती हूँ. Or don't think के my husband is only doing so much. Don't think the negatives. Think the positives. Think the possibilities. And I think once you start thinking about money as a means to an end, as the possibility, what the possibility of managing or understanding your finances has, I think it will open a lot of thoughts. And I think that itself is a very big learning that I have had by seeing my mother talk about those 300 rupees ka petrol that we wasted at some point in time, to then reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, to then having those money conversations with Umang, lifestyle conversations with Umang, to then, of course, my kids.
I'm personally, very inspired by what you just said about thinking about possibilities. It's very common, like even beyond money. It's very common within a family setup for us to just keep cribbing about ये नहीं है, ऐसे नहीं होता है, that's not there. I think we need to convert these conversations, if we look at it from a positive lens, in a personal finance kind of a domain. If you think about it कि ठीक है मुझे ये नहीं आता है, let me find out resources for the basics of understanding. Let me just understand. Let me talk to somebody. Let me reach out for help.
Correct.
Let me ask the silliest questions and not worry about the judgments. Right? I think it starts from there.
Correct.
And you won't believe that. But when I started this business with my business partner Vikas, and I had very little understanding of the mutual fund industry. Look at the irony of it, right? I had very little understanding, and it was a homework that I took for myself. That after I was in a job at that point, and I used to come back home, spend 1 hour of studying this industry,
Correct.
And I realized it did not take me a very long time to get better at it. And I'm sure even now I don't know everything, and at no point can we know everything. But I think we are all learning, and with that learning mindset, I was able to get the confidence to sit in front of a person and tell him what to do.
Correct.
Right? And I think that's a big thing, and I think everybody can do it in their respective areas of competence.
Absolutely.
So I think that was a wonderful conversation, Hiloni. Thank you so much, for taking out time and sharing some of the things that are so personal to you. I'm sure that our viewers would relate to some of these conversations that we are having with some of these women. And thank you once again.
Thank you so much for calling me.
Yeah, stay tuned for more.